Hello, folks out there. This episode of the podcast is partnered by Audible. Greg, you know what I love about Audible?
What do you love about Audible,
I
John?
don't have to pick up a book anymore and carry it around with me. In fact, I carry it around in my phone, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They literally keep thousands of titles right on your phone, accessible at any time when you're driving, when you're cooking, when you're mowing the lawn, changing a diaper, doesn't matter. It's all right there at your fingertips, John. They've got podcasts, they've got lectures, they've got some like health and wellness and like fitness series on there that if you just are looking for something to fill that gap, like you're not getting into a book right now, it's all there for you, man.
If you're a member, Greg, what's cool about it is you get 3 titles per month. The first one you can pick whatever you want. Like I've said, I'll probably start hitting up some of those health and wellness books. And then what's awesome is they have 2 Audible exclusives. Exclusives, folks. You can't get it anywhere else.
It's true. That is very true. So if you guys want to get on the Audible train, you can go to audibletrial.com/JATG. That stands for Johnny and the Greg. Hook yourself up with a 30-day free trial. No promises, no nothing. If you don't like it, which I can't imagine you're not going to like it, you can cancel at any time. But the great thing about that is the books you get during your free trial, or if at any time, those books are yours. Like you get to keep them. You can listen to them nonstop, anytime, all the time.
Sounds like a deal to me, man. So if you guys are smart, like I know you guys are, because you already listen to this podcast, sign yourself up, guys. What do you got to lose? It's 30-day free trial, and it's books, it's knowledge. Gotta drink it up.
It is. It is. So one more time, it is audibletrial.com/JATG.
As the world turns, so does the most impressive podcast that no one knows about. It's Johnny and the Greg.
I do want to point out we may have one new listener whose name I cannot remember, but our waitress at the Crafty Cow in Oconomowoc.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I did want to just a couple of things, guys. If you're watching us, welcome. If you're new to this, welcome. Please do us a favor, hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, and I don't know if there's like options on whatever you're listening to, but do that. That helps us get up there, so that we can make more money, and that therefore we can bring you better content. So it'll just help us keep trucking along.
If you're watching us on, say, YouTube, I believe the term is like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notifications of new episodes.
That is it. So, Greg, happy Easter. For those of you that are listening to this on Thursday, we're recording Sundays. So, again, Greg, happy Easter. Happy Easter to everybody out there. If you do not celebrate Easter, I hope you had a good Sunday, regardless. And happy birthday to the Greg.
Oh, yeah.
Dropping on your birthday. So it's dropping on Thursday. So if you guys want to, go into the comments below if you're watching YouTube, or hit us up on our Instagram and just throw out a happy birthday to the big guy for us.
Instagram and Facebook at Johnny and the Greg, I believe is what it is. So
this probably won't be a long podcast because we have a guest coming next week that I'm looking forward to, and we're probably going to get crazy, and that'll probably go for a while, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I hope so.
Once he gets rolling.
Hopefully we're going to shore up. I mean, we got to get some stuff from him yet, but hopefully that all works out. He'll be a good guest.
Yeah, he will. Greg, how was Easter?
It was good. It was good. Yeah. We did. Now, again, Easter is one of those interesting holidays for me. Well, it is, I think, the most Christian of holidays. And now we can get into the argument of that it falls on another. It is overtaken a pagan holiday of the same date.
Aren't they all pagan holidays at some point?
Yeah, but this one is because we can actually put a date to it.
I
Oh,
mean,
like
or we can actually put
official.
a time span
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with the Christian authors. Like the authors of the Bible, everybody knows, or at least they should know, that December 25th is not the actual birth date of Jesus.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. That was actually put there by a pope who said, we're going to celebrate the birth of Jesus on this date to overtake a pagan holiday. So a little
Right.
bit of strategy on his part. The crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus is actually recorded in numerous non-Christian texts because the Romans were in power. They took
Mhm.
copious notes on their empire. And so, yeah, there's, if anybody even goes into like, well, Jesus wasn't a real person. It's like, no, no, no. The Romans wrote about him as, here's
Just a
here's
prophet or something like that.
yeah, just a religious figure of the Jewish faith.
I wonder if they had the term for cult leader back then, because I'm sure he would have been. I'm sure it would have gone to him. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're not a believer,
probably.
you would have sat there and like, oh, that's that guy that leads that weird cult about
Well,
turning the other cheek.
and there were other cults as well. I mean, it wasn't just,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure they would have put that term on him. But I mean, the Romans they didn't really have a problem with Jesus. They were like, you know, it was more the Jewish leaders that had the problem with Jesus.
Isn't the only time they really had a problem with it is when he basically told his people like money is not the thing you should be following. When he wouldn't, I didn't he now.
But at the same time, he said, "Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar." So he was saying, you pay your taxes. I mean, he
Oh, okay.
was like, "Hey, pay your taxes, respect your elected leaders." And in this case, it happened to be, some Roman leaders. And he's like, "Oh no, you've got to obey the law of the land. That's just what it is." Excuse me.
Yeah.
And so,
So
anyway,
yeah.
their records can place, you know, so many Sundays after this one date is when Jesus came in, and then he was crucified. Like they've got records, or they know that the Romans kept records of like crucifixions and criminal punishments and
You do a
things.
lot
So
more studying and back into this. Did the Romans write down that he was resurrected, or did they claim it was like grave robbery
I
or?
think they claimed like like a grave robbery kind of thing. And so that's, and that's where people go back and forth. I would suggest, if you want like a decent explanation. So there's a website, it's Hope Lake Country. I believe it's .com, not a
Yeah.
.org. And their Easter service, I want to make sure I get you guys the right address. And if you're watching in a place where you can see links down below, you can take a look down there as well. So their Easter service, he really kind of split it up, and it is .com, hopelakecountry.com. The pastor there really split it up into like, hey, if you're not a Christian, this is what you need to know. And he kind of breaks down the whole crucifixion and resurrection story in a way of like, you can understand this, you can understand this, and this is the part where it takes faith to believe. Where, that's the part you need to explore and check out and figure that out. But I mean, like I said, there's other sources besides the Bible that claim the existence of Jesus, and that he, 3 days after he was crucified and died, declared dead, he was no longer in his tomb. And it wasn't the valuables were still there. So like no one would just take a body. They would take all the goods that he was buried with, and they would take the linens because those were expensive and things like that. And they didn't take any of that. They just took the body, and there's no purpose for that. But I don't even know how I got on this. What were we talking
Yeah.
about?
I'm just gonna ask you how your Easter was.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, we did the church service. My parents came up. I I had bought a double smoked ham, and
Mhm.
then on my Traeger grill, I smoked it for a third time. So we had a triple smoked ham, and I hit it with a sweet pepper bourbon glaze. So it
Yeah,
was
it's good.
fantastic.
Yeah, you
Yeah, it
are
was
a
awesome.
ham guy. That's one of your things.
I do like ham. I do. I don't
You
make
are
it.
into swine.
I don't. I don't make it often. I mean, it's really like just like Christmas and Easter that I'll
Mm,
do a ham.
yeah,
Um, so I'm, you know, I
yeah,
like it. I'm not going to call it a delicacy or anything like that, but I certainly could do more of it. But you know, it's
yeah.
special.
But it went well. It went well.
Yeah, yeah, it went really well. What about you?
Oh man, I've had a busy weekend. It started out with basically driving up on Friday to go to the Watertown Town Cinema.
Town Cinema. You came up to
Yeah,
see me.
yeah. Matt invited us to watch Kong versus Godzilla or Godzilla versus Kong, however you want to say it. Um, and like I told you, I get it. It was a great atmosphere. So Matt, thank you for being so being a great host. It was a
Hmm.
lot of fun. I really enjoyed looking through the memorabilia of how old that theater is,
Yeah,
and
turn of the century theater.
they got this great antique of how movies used to have to like run through this huge machine where
Hmm.
where they had a freaking chimney because it would get so hot. They had to vent it out of the building, and um, it was really cool. So, Matt, if you're listening, thank you very much. You were very hospitable. I can't wait to come up there again. And like I told you, Greg, I get it. I get why you go. I get why it's
Hmm.
kind of a cool thing. Even Watertown downtown, it's kind of a cool area. It really is. I think it's one of those towns that's Americana. Like if you were to go
Hmm.
back, it's like Hill Valley from Back to the Future, man. Like not a lot's changed.
Yeah.
Save the clock tower. It's all there. And that was kind of cool. That's really cool. It's one of the cool things about Watertown. So, um, but anyway, we saw the movie. What'd you think of the movie, Greg? What'd you think of Kong versus Godzilla?
Well, I mean, I've now seen it a total of 3 times, twice in the theater, and then I did do one more watch on HBO Max because I got a new TV and I wanted to see how it looked on my new TV and surround sound. Um, what did I think?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I liked it. I
Hmm.
mean, it was an enjoyable film. I will watch it anytime it's on. I mean, if it's one of those like I'm not if I'm surfing around and I find Kong versus Godzilla, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it. And I believe it's Godzilla versus Kong because they went for the alphabetical. They didn't
Right.
want to show favoritism in anyone. Um, but yeah, I mean, is it a perfect film? No, but even the originals, you go back to the old Toho films, they're not perfect films.
Well, here's the problem. If you're
They're
looking for a perfect film about giant lizard and I'm sorry, a giant radioactive lizard and a giant, we'll just go with Greg today, a giant Sasquatch fighting each other, then I think you're like nothing's going to be
in
perfect about that.
in fact, at one point in the film, you
Yep,
did turn to me in the
I
middle,
did. I did.
and you're like, the science behind that just doesn't make sense. I mean, is that really going to be like? And I just turned to you and went,
Really,
it's a
John?
it's a big it's a big monkey man and a giant lizard duking it out. You need to just suspend your logic here.
Yeah. 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 It's funny because I usually never like that. I'm always the one that usually goes, oh no, they could have survived that. That could have happened. Like
Yeah.
there's a 1% chance they survive that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a popcorn movie. Um, okay, going back to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, I actually thought there was a point to the humans in that movie.
Oh, really?
Yes, I really did. I think like with that rogue unit that took, I forgot what that little device was that seemed to either
Yeah, that
piss off
echo.
or control the monsters somehow. How they were waking up all the monsters all over the world. There was like an actual point to that, and it was just the other guy's trying to catch his wife to stop her from doing it,
Yeah.
basically. This one, there was zero point to any of the humans being
Yeah.
in the movie unless they were just so you could watch people run.
Yeah, they served as transition points.
Yes,
Like
there was
it
zero
wasn't even
point to it.
we weren't even supposed to take their perspective on things or
No.
feel I felt nothing for any of the human characters.
Yeah.
Like I kind of liked the Kong scientist because I'm like, oh well, yeah, she's kind of cute and got an
Yeah.
attitude. Okay, I can dig that. But yeah, at like the
Dude,
the
Scars.
Starsguard,
Yeah, he had no
or
point to it.
Starsguard, yeah.
0 point to it.
And I like him as an actor.
Me
I think
too.
he's
Me too.
I think I would say he did well in the role, but his role was, yeah, like you said, running away or just trying to get Kong from point A to point B.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
And the Millie Bobby Brown
Yes, I was just
section,
gonna get
I
on
mean,
that.
she's a good actress. I mean, she's an up and coming. I can only think that the term contractual obligation comes to mind
Mm-hmm.
as she was in that film. I'm like, she can't be proud of this. She can't. There's nothing there for her. There was
No.
literally nothing for her to work with.
No, not only that, she was part of the. Okay, there was this thing happened in Michael Bay when he did Transformers, where he took the humans and they became like this, like what was it? Who's the main character? Sam. Sam's parents became annoying after a
Yeah.
while,
Yep.
and then they got really annoying with John Turturro's part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
they
again,
just and they
that's
just
a great actor.
yeah.
John Turturro. And
Yes.
you just waste him.
Yes, and I feel like that's what happened to her. She was his sidekick was the kid from Deadpool 2.
Yeah. Julian
And
Dennison is his name.
yes, and then they had some other guy that was part of I guess some sort of a conspiracy theorist podcast.
Yeah.
That was his character. And you could just tell they were there. The only point they had was to move a story along, but then just make wisecracks. So they became annoying, and she's just
Yeah.
with them. And you're like, dude, this is a very good actress. She even played a better part in Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
Eh,
She
In
did.
this one, she's just like, and guys, I'm sorry. This totally sounds like we're ripping on this movie. It's just the human aspect. There was zero of it. If
Right.
like, I thought this movie was okay. I mean, I didn't walk away disappointed, but I knew what I was getting into. I was gonna watch Godzilla
Right.
and King Kong fight, and I knew that they were going to. I just knew what the whole plot was before I even stepped foot in there. There was no surprise whatsoever. So I thought the movie was okay. If I'm folding laundry and it's on, I'll leave it on.
Yeah.
But other than that, I
I
thought it was fine.
and I even think about the guy you were talking about, Brian Tyree Henry,
Who's
who he was the black guy, the
Okay.
podcaster. And when I say the black guy, I mean he really came off like the token black guy in the film because there
Yeah.
weren't any other.
Yeah.
There was one other person of color, the Asian man who was
Yes.
the
yes,
engineer.
the guy that was controlling
Which-
yeah.
I didn't know this. I did some reading of it. That's the son of Ken Watanabe's character.
It's supposed to be
It's
his
supposed to be
or
his
it's-
son. And
or that's
and I'm like,
Watanabe's actual son.
no, that is
Okay.
the character that Watanabe played, who died in
Yes.
King of Monsters. That is that character's son. And you're going, A, you went to the dark side, and B, why did they not explore that? That would have been a much
Oh, yeah.
more intriguing storyline than
Absolutely.
anything else that we saw with the humans.
Absolutely. That's a shock. The fact that, like, shame on you. We didn't know that. That would have
Yeah.
been a great
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
That I would, because I was trying to, in the opening credits of the film, they've got whoever the person's name is that they're going to feature hidden in kind of like a bunch of writing, and then they redact the writing, and then you see produced by or directed by. So I wanted to know what all the stuff they redacted. I wanted to know what that was. Is that like an
Okay.
Easter egg kind of thing that
Okay.
I'm just missing? Turns out I'm not. But somewhere in there, in that guy's, I can look up his name, but in his, it says that he's the son of, and then they named Ken Watanabe's
Yeah.
character.
So, bottom line, guys, if you're looking for a good popcorn movie, It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's definitely a
Yeah,
good
it
popcorn
is.
movie. Don't go in there expecting the world to change. Don't go in there expecting to feel a certain way. Go in there thinking you're going to watch two gigantic monsters hit, and then
Yeah.
you just have to deal with the humans that are in the way. Pretty much. That's
And
it.
I don't understand Hollywood's fear of a full realistic CGI film. Like that entire like the whole
Oh, I understand.
everything in Hong Kong
Yeah.
was totally like the whole city was
Yes.
CGI. It's not like they
Yes.
did it like, oh, well, we're going to go film in Hong Kong and then cut away. I mean, no, the
Right.
entire thing was CGI.
Hmm.
So you go, why not just make a CGI film? Like, why
Because I
not do
think
that
I
level?
think they remember what was that movie? Well, first off, the first one was Beowulf that I can remember. That didn't do well.
No, and no, you're right. It
The
didn't.
one with Ray Winston was the voice, and
Yeah,
Angelina Jolie was Grendel's mother, or
yeah,
however.
and they did the motion capture and everything
Yeah,
else. Yeah,
yeah. I think that's one reason. The other one, and this one that I'm thinking of came out before that one, and it was it was
talk about
like
the Final Fantasy film.
yes, thank
Yeah,
you. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
yeah,
I think those two bombed as well as what I thought was a very good movie was the I think his name is Tim or Tintin, the one
Tintin.
that Steven
Yeah,
Spielberg did
yep.
with the yeah. I thought that was very. I thought it was a good movie. I would watch. I was into the movie,
Right.
but those three examples didn't do well. They didn't
Well,
do well at all, and I think that has a lot to
honestly,
do with it now.
those are terrible examples, and not that you came up with terrible examples. Final Fantasy, no one heard of Final Fantasy, or at least in an American audience.
Correct. Yeah.
I think Asian market knew Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
and then gamers in America did. No one else did, and it wasn't a good movie. The story sucked.
Oh, okay.
Grendel, or I'm sorry, Beowulf.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean,
Dude,
Beowulf
Beowulf
is a
is a
great,
fantastic story.
yeah, if you do
Yes.
it right. And
Yes.
they said, but we're gonna do inspired by Beowulf.
Hmm.
And then they didn't even do like the direct story, and you're like, what is happening? This is bullshit.
Right.
And in Tintin, I don't know. I Other than it's a French comic, and there's again, American audience really don't care
Yeah.
about Tintin.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good film.
Yeah.
That is a very good film. Um,
Yeah.
but I think also audiences have changed enough that maybe it could work. And I'm not saying you CGI the humans. I'm saying you take the humans out and just let us watch, you know, just watch it happen.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's a good point, Greg. Because look, King Kong versus Godzilla. What What are you gonna do? Like, you have
Yeah.
to have humans in it. You have to. There has to be something there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I. You know what? He was probably wasn't contractually obligated, but the guy that was the bad guy that was the leader of some sort
Yeah.
of terrorist unit that wanted to tear down the world in Godzilla King of the Monsters, he never
Mm-hmm.
shows up again.
No, no. And
And
I was trying to
he is
remember,
a fantastic bad guy.
and I'm trying to think. I'm like, did he die in the last film? But he didn't.
No,
He
he
didn't
didn't.
die.
He's
He
the one that
lives.
bought the skull at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of
Yeah.
things where you're like, why did they not
Yeah.
do it like this?
Yeah.
And maybe
I,
we'll find out later.
I
Maybe we never will.
yeah,
But
totally agree.
um,
But again, I enjoyed every fight. I didn't like the way some fights ended, but it's the way it is.
yeah,
And you're not always going to. The people you cheer for aren't always going to win. That's how it is.
it's just how it
But
works.
yeah, but at least I mean it. I felt it ended happy. If that's weird, or I don't know.
Yeah, it was a fun, like you said, it was a popcorn ride. It was a
Yeah.
fun movie to just watch.
Right.
So next movie I'm looking forward to is I'm going to see Mortal Kombat in the theater.
I'm going to watch that on HBO Max.
Yeah, but I will definitely go see Mortal Kombat because
You know what? It doesn't even
it's
look
great.
good to me, but I feel like I have to see it. I don't know why. It doesn't look good to me. It looks
Just
like
keep up your nerd cred or what?
yeah.
Well,
Just doesn't look
again,
good to me.
source material and story material. I mean, it's a movie based on a video game where it's just characters fighting each other.
Yeah.
and you got to build a story around that. And they're going to try, but it's still it's and I follow one of the actors who's being set up to be the main actor of the film,
Yeah.
whose name I'm blanking on, but I'm gonna go see it because he had wrote on his Twitter that it is a exhibition of amazing stunt work.
There we go. Then.
Uh,
And I think that's another thing that you and I are a little bit different when it comes to watching movies. We can really appreciate if the story's really good. We can really appreciate that. If the
Mhm.
acting's really good, we can appreciate that. If the concept of the idea is really cool, we're behind that. If the stunt work is really into it, and again, anybody out there listening that knows a stunt man, hook us up. We would love to talk to a
Yeah,
stunt man or a woman, just because I find that such a fascinating part of movies that isn't talked about enough.
yeah. And by the
So,
way, Louis Tan is who I'm talking about. I
okay.
I I would didn't want to. I knew his name, but I had that little bit of doubt. I'm like, I don't want to say it wrong because Louis Tan. I'm going to tag you in this. I would love to get you on the show because you're making that jump from like stunt performer to actor,
Yeah.
um, to like the recognized actor where you're going to be holding a film, uh, and I just think I mean looking at um the cast. If I were to start naming off these names, I think most people are going to be like, who's that?
You know
We
what?
don't
You
know who
could tell
these
me a
people are.
famous guy and I still wouldn't know now. I'm so out of the loop when it comes to actors anymore, really. Like,
Well, but my point is that, like they're high, like they got performers, they got martial arts performers, people that are going to be like they're going to be able to have the camera on them as they're doing stuff, and I think that that's going to be a lot of fun.
hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully,
yeah.
you know,
I'm looking.
yeah, I think I'll end up liking the movie because I'm going to walk into it not expecting anything.
Mhm. Well,
Which, go ahead.
but budgets have, or I'm sorry, CGI has caught up with the special moves that
Oh,
Mortal
okay.
Kombat has been famous for.
Okay.
Fireballs and
Yeah.
piercing chains that you tug people over and freezing powers and all that stuff. Um, it's become, and they had that when they made like the first Mortal Kombat film, but they didn't have the budget to make
Right.
that work. And now you can budget for that a lot easier. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Speaking of movies that you'd go into, you're not really expecting a lot. I've told you about this. Don't know if you've seen it yet, but Boss Level is really good. Boss
Watched it.
Levels.
Yeah, it was
What?
great. We watched it a couple nights ago.
Yeah,
Or
did you
last.
like it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I liked it a
Yeah,
lot.
I really liked it too. I was pleasantly surprised, pleasantly shocked, and I was very happy for Frank Grillo,
Oh
who
man,
I
Frank
think
Grillo
that
looks fucking awesome in that film.
you mean in terms of
His
how in shape he is.
physique
Yes.
is amazing.
Yeah, he's 55 years old. I follow him on Instagram. He's always working out. He's always doing
Yeah.
something. Always doing something.
It
Uh,
looked like he put on more mass. Like
yes.
he put on more mass and got cut at the
Yeah.
same time, which is
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. That's very tough. But again, I'm really happy for that guy because he, in my opinion, and look, he's not going to win an Academy Award, but he actually showed depth in this movie. Like
You know
he
what?
he went from a guy that didn't give a shit to a guy that really cared to a guy that had regret to a guy that
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to talk to the girl that he loved. He went back and forth. Then he went back to the action badass. Then he went back to a loving, caring father. To like, it
Uh-huh.
was great. I thought it was great.
It was, yes, it was a great film, and I think you say he's not going to win any Oscars, but I could see if he gets the right role and the right director, probably like an independent style film,
He
that
could pull it off.
if like 5 years from now they're going to be like, oh my god,
Yeah,
this guy is amazing,
yeah, yeah.
or he'll get robbed. That's the other thing. Or because he's an action guy, the
Yes.
Academy's going to be like, we're not gonna honestly
Right.
give an Oscar to an action star.
Right. But the other thing, there's two things I thought that were just great. The sword fight at the end, or I guess that's in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Um, And the way that a certain Will Lasso dies is hilarious. And I'm sorry, but that reminds me of your brother. Not the way he died, but the way you.
Oh,
That's your
just
brother.
Will. Yeah, Will
Yes.
Lasso.
Yeah, that's
I
your
love
brother.
that guy. Will
Yeah, I was
Lasso.
looking at that guy the whole time, going, "Oh my God, that's Greg's brother."
I
Um,
wondered when he comes on the screen. I'm like, ooh, Will Sasso doing like
serious
doing
role.
doing like a serious,
Yeah,
like he's gonna be the badass kind of role. Okay, let's see how this goes. And I don't know if whatever got into them. They're like, well, he can't be like, it's Will Sasso. I mean, we can't have him be totally serious the
yeah,
whole time.
yes, yes. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody out there, but the way that I mean, it's an action movie. He's a bad guy. He's going to die.
Yeah,
But the way that he dies is hilarious.
yeah. It almost. I wonder if they
Go
did like
for it.
they
Yep.
said a couple takes, and then they're like, okay, just play around with it, do what you want.
Yeah.
And they went,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna keep that.
Yeah. Mel Gibson, I don't know why he was there.
Paycheck, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
I think.
Don't get me wrong, he didn't do a bad job. He just there wasn't enough meat there for him. I felt
He
like that
was
could have been any bad guy.
Yeah, he was almost a cameo. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly. But I think is he still struggling to come back in Hollywood from his private actions
Yeah, I think he
of both, the anti-Semitic stuff, the
I
stuff
don't
with his wife.
pretend
I mean,
I don't
all
pretend to know what he does anymore. He used to be one of my favorite actors.
yeah.
Um I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he's on the Bruce Willis train now in terms of just whatever, I'll do it. It's fine. I got nothing
Kinda.
else going on.
I mean, I'm
Um
looking at his last couple of years of work here.
they're pretty sparse. And
Yeah, he's
I
got
mean, I'm sorry,
what
he's been in a lot, but you look at him and you're just kind of like, okay, like is this Sci-Fi Channel or is this?
well, kind of a lot. I mean, I'm looking back. I mean, he had one movie one movie in 2006, one movie in 14 that was The Expendables, but that again was like almost a cameo.
Yep.
Um, Bloodfather in 2016, Daddy's Home 2 in 2017. That was a
Yep.
theatrical release.
Yeah. But
Then
again, he was more or less just a supporting cast member there.
yeah, definitely. One movie in 2018 I've never heard of. One movie in 2019 I've never heard of.
There's one where I think he's Santa Claus.
That's Fatman. That was last year, 2020, of which he only did one other movie in 2020, and then he did Fatman. But Fatman's even like, I know of it because
It's a bizarre, like,
yeah,
as you're watching the trailer, you're going, what?
he plays a
Are they
disgruntled,
okay? They're going this route. All
yeah,
right.
and it's an action-ish
Yeah.
film
Yeah.
where he's like this disgruntled Santa Claus, and you're
Yeah.
like, and not when I say Santa Claus, I don't mean that. I mean he is Chris Kringle. He's Santa Claus
Yeah.
in the movie.
He's not a happy Chris Kringle, by the way.
No, he's not. And then he did Boss Level was his first movie of this year, and then looks like he's got two more, but I don't know what these are.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't. Maybe Hollywood isn't giving him a shot, and it's one of those situations where
Yeah.
where it's like, let's say you and I were starting a movie, and we're like, holy shit, we can get Mel Gibson. Let's get him.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
I
that
think it's
could
one
be.
of those things. But very underrated. So if you guys, it's only a Hulu special one, so it's gonna be really hard to find if you're not Hulu. But if anybody's out there that has Hulu, take some time, invest in Boss Level. It's actually very
Yeah.
good. I did not expect to be that entertained and that not blown away, but impressed with the performances. Really,
Yeah.
honestly,
It didn't go where I thought it was going to go. I mean,
No.
with a name like the movie Boss Level, and they have kind of this kind of almost a video game motif
yes,
through the whole thing, and I'm like, well, this guy's just trapped. I thought it was going to be like,
nice guy.
yeah, like
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds movie that they just
Yes.
kind of
So did I.
like. It's not that. It's
No.
totally not that.
It's not.
So
And not only that, they explain. He does. They do such a good way of explaining what's going on,
yeah, they
and
did.
you follow it along very well. And you're like, oh, okay. Like I was thoroughly entertained. I would love to see Boss Level 2. Like I don't think it's going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. But I thought it was great.
I just want to see Frank Grillo and more stuff.
Yeah, he was
And
really
actually,
good,
the direct,
and not like Skull or not what's it? Skull oh my
Crossbones.
God, Crossbones. Not
Yeah,
that type of role. Give him a meaty
give him a
lead
hero role.
action hero. Yeah,
Yeah.
he does a great job.
Well, he was with the filmmaker is Joe Cranahan, who's done. He's got a pretty long
Oh yeah.
as a producer, writer, director. Oh, he's remaking The Raid. I've heard about that. Um,
Don't do that. What are you gonna do? Make it
I've
more brutal? Come on.
I've heard that he's working with the original filmmakers, so
Okay.
they're going to try to do a pretty um, true to form version of it. So
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, Joe Cranahan did the A Team, and I'm as much as I mean, I love the A Team. I love the A Team. I love Smoking Aces, one of his other films.
I love
Uh,
Smoke Mason. That was great.
so he's done some good stuff.
Yeah.
And he could, if you put him and Frank Grillo together again, which I think those two were the top producers of
Okay.
Boss Level, that they could do more good stuff together.
What does his IMDb say about anything upcoming for Frank Grillo? Is it because I thought he was just promoting something on his Instagram where I don't think he's a star. I think he's another supporting cast. Which again, I've become a Frank Grillo fan now. I'm not that I
He's
wasn't
got
before, but
he's got something called The Father in pre-production, Gateway in post-production, Ida Red in post-production. He's got some. He's going to be um, reclaiming the role of Crossbones in a What If series for
okay.
Disney Plus, but that's animated, so it'll
All
just be
right.
his voice. Something called Cop Shop, which is coming out in this year. The Hitman,
Yep.
the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is that Ryan Reynolds and
Yeah, and
Samuel Jackson?
yeah, he's in that. In fact, he has an Instagram thing here where he's talking about shot this way before COVID, Hitman's Bodyguard 2, also known as the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard as a new release date. So maybe this won't be Ryan Reynolds. Maybe this will be he's the bodyguard of Selma Hayek.
Maybe I'm looking at the cast. Frank Grillo's name appears above Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, and I don't think that's because I clicked on his name. It was Frank Grillo, Ryan Reynolds, Samuel Jackson, Selma Hayek, Tom Hopper, who he's another guy that I think is poised to blow up. Did you watch? Did you watch Black Sails on Stars?
Yes. Oh,
Billy
I know who you're
Billy
talking
Bones,
about.
the tall guy. He's also in the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. So I think he could be good. But they got Morgan Freeman.
Oh, he's the big gorilla dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Number one.
I think he could do some cool stuff.
Yeah. Did you remember the Netflix show where they redid Lost in Space?
Yeah, yeah, that was good.
It was a very interesting way they went about it. But the guy that played John Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
that guy should be in more action movies.
Oh, yeah, he should.
Yeah. I don't know his name either.
Oh,
But
I knew
I
his
mean, if you
name.
get a picture of him, and Greg and I are completely comfortable with our sexuality, that's a good looking, striking man.
It is. Yeah, he's a good looking dude.
He's got something. He has some sort of like when he looks into a camera, it like pierces you. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
you're looking at me.
Toby Stevens. That's who that
Yes, yes. Not a
Yeah.
real kick-ass name, but whatever.
is.
You know.
He's done very prolific, I believe, British actor.
Yes. Wasn't he in Black Sails?
Yeah. So he's based in London. It looks like.
Yeah.
What's he got coming out?
He was also a badass in 13 Days, that movie about or 13 hours. 13 hours. Sorry.
He's done a lot of like radio plays. It looks like he's the interesting. I got to find these. He's the voice of James Bond in remakes of the like they do like radio plays. So he's got the Man with the Golden Gun, Live and Let Die, Moonraker,
Oh,
Thunderball, and
he'd be a
I
good
could,
Bond.
yeah, hearing his voice, yeah, I could.
He'd be a
He
really
would
good Bond.
he'd kill it as Bond.
Hey, what do you think about Henry Cavill?
As Bond,
Is it Cavill?
that
Cavill?
was Cobble, but
Copple. All right. I think he'd be a good Bond. He would actually
uh,
probably have to lose a lot, like weight, because he's
yeah,
pretty buff
I don't,
now.
I don't see him as Bond,
No?
but no, I don't.
Maybe as he gets
Because,
older.
because of the size, and I don't know. I think that's not, for some reason his face doesn't strike me as Bondish,
Okay.
um, I
Did
didn't
they
think Daniel
officially tell you
Craig
who
did
the new
either.
Bond is after Craig?
Did they?
I don't know, because I was voting. I think I was voting for Idris Elba. I wanted him to be Bond.
I believe he turned it down because he said he's too old now.
Oh, okay. He's probably getting
I
tired of all this.
I've heard there was a big push for a female Bond,
Yeah.
which
No.
again, I think you've got to you've got to recreate the story.
Yes.
You've got to
Or
recreate.
she can be 003 or whatever.
Well, I think you recreate the story where James Bond 007, like whoever, if you are 007, your name is now James Bond.
Yeah.
That explains Connery. It explains Roger Moore, Timothy
Oh,
Dalton.
I see. It's
So
like you are becoming John Doe.
yeah,
Whatever you did
that is the
before,
code
this is
name.
who you are now.
Yep. Yeah,
It
like a Jason Bourne
it
kind of thing. It
it won't
doesn't.
work. It won't work. And it could even they could do it so well, but
Mhm.
it still won't work because people have a ingrained perception and
Yep.
expectation of what James Bond is. And it's not going to go well if a girl is sleeping with every guy. It's not going to go well when
Mhm.
like, it's just not going to go well. It's just like how the female Ghostbusters, which I haven't seen, but you said is actually a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Right.
I will defend that movie. It is
Right.
good.
But that's kind of my point. Like if you were to take a character that is notoriously a
Hmm.
man's man, and you take it and make it a woman just to make it a woman, it's
Right.
not going to fly.
What and because you brought up Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
the difference here is, and I think this is what you do with Bond. They never like like in Ghostbusters, they never said we are Ray Stantz, Peter
Yes.
Venkman. They they never acknowledge. In fact, the movie opens when the title card comes up. It says Ghost Corps. It doesn't say Ghostbusters. And I even like, well, that's kind of weird. And then in the post credit scenes of the film, and if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert, they introduce a multiverse. So the whole thing, like this female version
I
of the
gotta watch this movie.
Ghostbusters,
I gotta watch this.
is an alternate reality to our Ghostbusters that
Yeah.
from the 80s.
See, and I think, okay, it sounds to me, and I heard it got like it got so many thumbs down when the trailer
When the
premiered.
trailer dropped, because people were just pissed that it was women,
Yes,
and that is
but
some misogynistic bullshit.
I don't know. I don't think it's that. I think it's
I think it
people
is.
have been feeling like, hey, hear me out. I think people have been feeling like it's been shoved down their throat just because. And that's where people get this attitude about it.
I don't know about shoved down their throat. I mean, people make a movie, and rather than if you don't want to see the movie, don't see the movie. Don't go on some kind of freaking internet campaign to trash the movie that you haven't even seen.
That's a good point. I agree with that, but we could say that about anything
Yeah,
nowadays.
and that's why are you? What do you? People ask me, what do you think about this casting? So if Henry Cavill got cast as James Bond,
Yes.
my reaction is, and always will be, since 1989 when I heard Michael Keaton was cast as Batman,
Yep.
my opinion is going to be, huh, not who I would pick, but I'll see how he does.
Yep. I agree with you. I think that's the way to go. Like, well, let's see what they do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would have told you, hey, you know what? The lead character from Not Another Teen Movie is going to be Captain America. What do you think about that?
Right.
You know what? Fuck you. No.
Yeah, right. You're right.
But it ended up
You're
being
right.
great.
It ended up being great. Actually, when I found out he got cast, I was like, yes. When I heard they picked a soap opera star from Australia to be Thor, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
who? Who?
What was the scene that made you go, oh, that's Thor? What was the scene that made you do that? Like if you were watching the trailer and you were like,
Oh
I don't know.
no, I wasn't sure when I watched the trailer.
Yeah.
When I saw the movie, um, you know what? I don't think there was a definitive moment where I sat there and said that's Thor. Um, I I think the fact that I never questioned it as it was going
Yeah.
through the entire time, then the fact that I never sat there and said to myself, "Oh," I would say actually what sticks out in my head about that movie was when he's trying to lift the hammer and he's not worthy yet.
Yes. That's the scene that did it for me. I mean,
Yeah,
because I saw like a promotional clip or something like that. And first off, I'm like, is this guy big enough? I mean, that was my first question. Was he
right.
big enough? And you see how he's straining to, I'm like,
Yes.
okay, he looks like Thor. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then they showed how he falls and like the brokenness after that. I'm like, all right, well, let's see how this goes. I mean,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
because I had someone else in mind for Thor, and I can't even remember who it was anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to be honest, I think they all well Thor turned into more of a you could tell he started getting more comfortable with it. It started becoming his
Yeah,
versus what they were telling him to do.
yeah,
Chris Evans kind of just felt to me it felt like he just slipped right in there and you were like, yeah, that's Steve Rogers for sure.
hmm
And uh I mean, we've gone over Robert Downey, but
yeah.
um
He fit that role perfect. He did.
yeah, it just who I thought did a great job too. I mean, I've said this 100 times, and it's the movie's coming out. They just dropped a new trailer this weekend, which looked good. But I haven't seen a trailer that hasn't looked good about Black Widow. But she's another one that just kind of she made it her own, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's Black Widow for sure.
Well, and that was a character that they said, you know, I don't know. I haven't met one comic book fan, and I've met a lot who was like, if you ask them, who's your character, they're like Black Widow, all the way. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
you might now, but pre the Marvel films, like no one was like, oh, I'm a huge Black Widow fan.
It was hard for that for Iron Man too.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a lot of people. If I would have said, "Who's your favorite guy?" and they said Captain America or Thor, I'd be like, "Okay, I get it." But usually it's usually Deadpool, Wolverine, or Spider Man. That's what I
There
would
was a lot of
usually
that.
get from Marvel.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, yeah, and I think that's the problem also with DC is there's not this definitive, and if it's definitive, it's too long ago. Like Christopher Reeve's Superman, it's too long
yeah,
ago for
yeah.
it to. Um, there's a lot of people in my generation. I think you're actually included. Where like to you, it's Michael Keaton. That's Batman.
He did
To
a great job. Yeah, I
to
mean,
me, and see, I don't think he did.
oh really?
Yeah, I don't think Batman was an idiot. Like a lot of times
Idiot.
he'd come like with an idiot like where he was like and I don't know if he was acting like an idiot because he was Bruce Wayne.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
he
he
was direct. That was definitely the director's choice of how to, because it was the '80s. I mean, they were just like
yeah
making him kind of the bumbling
how
kind of
yeah
guy.
yeah he was bumbling. It was like like and how he's like
Hmm.
dropping shit and Alfred's behind him picking all this shit up and he didn't
Uh-uh.
know what gazpacho was and it's like that's not Batman. Batman knows what all this shit is.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but that was my opinion. So um I never really liked Keaton as Batman. I thought he was cool. The suit was always awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but the problem to me with Tim Burton was Tim Burton his endings never they never do it for me.
Yeah.
They just never do it for me. I just
Well, I mean, I like Michael Keaton as an actor in a lot of
yeah.
stuff.
Oh, for sure. We
I
you
think he did great with Batman. as I think he would do great with like a Batman Beyond. And
Yes.
I thought he nailed the Vulture.
Yep.
So there isn't much that Michael Keaton could do that I'd be like, he really didn't nail that role. Like that wasn't right for him.
I agree with that.
The Batman they made in '89, though, I mean, if I had to, I would say if that movie was made now, it would be a disappointment because we would be looking for more action, like more martial arts, Batman messing people up kind of action.
Yep.
And yeah, like we would look at Bruce Wayne's a playboy. He's supposed to be, and that's where I think Bale
Nailed it.
He did a great Bruce Wayne. I don't like his Batman.
Interesting.
When people were like, Christian
Where's the
Bale?
trigger?
Yeah, just everything that from the voice to
I've heard he's very method actory.
Yeah,
I've heard he actually had the cowl. He actually had it a little bit shorter so it would give him a headache. So he played Batman pissed off. Like I heard that's what he wanted, and like he hated the suit and he would channel hating the suit into the character. So Batman was always pissed off. So you could tell in those times where he's starting to talk, like he's like, the mask is to protect the people you love. When he's doing that at the end, it's kind of funny because in the first Batman Begins with Christian Bale, I thought he knocked it out of the park. Second one, it was more Heath Ledger, but he did a great job too. But you could tell by the third one, he almost turned his voice into a joke.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, and he's moving where he's like, do move, and he's like kind of moving around like, what are you doing? Yeah. And it's his choice, and obviously Nolan agreed with it because he let it happen. But like the Nolan verse as a whole, I think I'd like Batman Begins. I don't know if I like it as much as The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Returns I'm just not fond of.
I agree with you. I'm not fond of Dark Knight Returns either.
And I know people that are, if they're listening to this, they are screaming in their seat right now, thinking,
because they love that one.
Idiot. Oh yeah, like you are wrong, sir. You are wrong.
Look, like I have a lot of close friends that are big time geeks about this, and they claim Keaton's the best Batman. And I think that falls in line with when they were in junior high, that movie came out. So it solidified something because all they had to go with before that was Adam West and the campy 60s version of Batman. And so when they saw this one, they were like, oh,
Yeah.
And I felt Batman Begins and The Dark Knight encapsulates what a Batman what a Batman movie should be. That's how I felt.
I don't think we've seen our perfect live action Batman yet.
I think we have. I just think we've seen it in scenes of different movies.
No, I mean like as a whole. I mean as a whole film, as a whole performance.
Well, I hope this Patterson one knocks it out of the park.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see.
Because the one thing I am dying for is a detective. Like if this is Batman hunting down the Riddler, and Riddler's like a 7 type, like criminal from the movie 7.
Oh, gotcha.
Like he's that guy, and he has that vibe. I'm kind of cool with that.
Yeah,
I'm all right with that.
I am too. And I say live action because not every geek, but I know a lot of geeks when you say who's your favorite Batman, and they say it's voice of Batman.
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. Like Kevin Conroy's best Batman ever. Like yes, in his voice,
animated.
I mean, he didn't have to
even in video games.
Yeah. And he's got an iconic voice. He does a great Bruce Wayne. He does a great Batman. But that's voice acting, which is different than live action acting.
Yeah.
If anybody who's seen Kevin Conroy said, if you put him in a bat suit, you're going to be like, ugh.
Oh, actually, it's happened.
Oh, I know. He's worn it before, and then you're
No, no,
like,
no.
yeah,
I mean, he was actually a Batman in an alternate universe in the Arrowverse when they did the Infinity War on the
I did
CW.
not watch
I
any
didn't
of
see it
that.
either. I just saw a picture of it, and I saw him for 5 seconds because they had it on Instagram. And I saw it for
Yeah,
5 seconds, and I was like, "Oh no!"
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no. That's like getting that one guy to be Batman on Teen Titans. That was not a good Batman. Do you remember?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking
that.
about? The dude that was the bodyguard for Daenerys before he got betrayed, or
Oh,
before he.
that's who that was. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
they
Hmm.
got him. And look, I like that actor, but not as Batman.
Yeah. Yep.
So
You're right.
yeah. So all right, God, we just went off it again, huh? We just crazy again. Yeah. Hey, let's leave it with this. What is the best candy in Easter? What's the best Easter candy?
Ooh, best Easter candy. I didn't get any this year, but I do like the Reese's peanut butter eggs.
I don't think there's anything better than that. There was a time I
That's a
was a
good one.
Cadbury guy, but that was when I was in like junior high. And I
Yeah,
think
I
the
don't.
commercials got me more than anything.
Yeah, which kudos to Cadbury. They've been running that same set of commercials since the '90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
But yeah, I agree
getting
with
their
you, Greg.
mileage.
It's the Easter egg Reese's.
So one of the bonuses from working from home all day, every day, um, is that every once in a while I get to have something on in the background while I'm working because I'm doing like data entry, or it doesn't take all of my brain power.
Right.
Um, and so I just had the History Channel on,
Okay.
um, because I'm old enough that I just want to watch the History Channel
Yeah.
now.
It's good
Uh,
stuff if you find some interesting stuff.
they had it had the longest title ever, but it was like Candy Wars kind of thing,
Okay.
and it was based off of like post World War One. They talked about Hershey's and how did Hershey's become like the Hershey Chocolate Company, the Hershey's bar. I mean, he was like, I don't know if he was giving them away, but or next to nothing, he was sending Hershey bars overseas to soldiers, and that built up his name enough that people just were like if you wanted a candy bar, you went to
Yeah.
Hershey's. That was your top end.
He went bankrupt like 7 times
Yes, he did.
before. Yeah.
It did. It went into this big history of what became the candy war between Hershey, who was at the top of his game and then just trying to maintain that king of the mountain, but he had screwed over a couple people, and one guy was named John Reese, who was he was a farmer. Actually, he was the head of Hershey's private dairy farm because Hershey believed if we had better cows, better milk, better products,
Hmm.
and I think there's something to that, but they eventually said that that's a failed project. They like same day went and sat down at Reese's table, and this guy's got like I don't know 5 kids and one on the way, and they said we're cutting the program. You're done, and that's like it. No more job. Like no 2 weeks notice, no nothing like that. They didn't have to do that at the time. So he's just out of work. He's like shit. What am I gonna do? But he had paid enough attention to the candy making process that he started to experiment on his own. Couple rounds of experimentation, he came up with like the peanut butter cup. And no one at that point, no one ever had put chocolate and peanut butter together. And you're like, really? It seems like such a common thing.
Yeah.
But this is like now the 20s or 30s, and no one had done it. And then at the same time, there's another guy whose name I can't remember, but he's trying to develop his own candy. And he came up with the Baby Ruth. And then there was a whole legal action with Babe Ruth.
Oh.
And Babe Ruth's like, you can't just take my name and make it a candy bar. I need residuals and I need all this other stuff. They're like, no, no, no. It's not Babe Ruth. We actually named it after,
Our daughter, Baby Ruth.
no, it was one of the president's daughters. I want to say Grover
Oh.
Cleveland. Like
Okay.
Grover is like Grover Cleveland's daughter who passed away in infancy was named Ruth. And they called it a Baby Ruth in like honor of her, and this guy was totally bullshitting. They of course named it after Babe
Yeah.
Ruth, and the Supreme Court, or maybe it wasn't even Supreme, the court upheld it. They're like, "Yep, that makes total sense." and so he got to keep all of his profits.
Yeah.
And that's the same guy that created the Butterfinger because he's like, we got to do something with peanut butter now. It was just real fascinating to watch.
Yeah, oh no,
But
it is when you find out how things happen. Like I think I read it to you how um did I not read you like I came across how the guy ended up inventing
I
Coca-Cola?
think so. Yeah.
Didn't I read that to you?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. He wasn't even trying to come up with Coca-Cola.
Nope.
He was trying to come up with some sort of cough medicine or something like that.
Yeah.
I think. I can't remember, but I remember reading it going, "Holy shit, this guy came up with Coke when he was trying to do something completely different."
Well, a lot of the early like soda makers were pharmacists because they
Yes.
knew how chemicals interacted and what tasted good and what didn't. And when I was down in Texas a little over a year ago, we went to Waco because my mom wanted to see the Chip and Joanna Gaines
Mhm.
stuff. And that was cool enough if you're into that. But I was more fascinated with Baylor's down there. And so I was like, hey, Baylor, let's take a look at that. And then Waco, Texas is the birthplace of Dr. Pepper. And so we went on this tour of the town, this bus tour, and it was again a lot of Chip and Joanna Gaines, but they're like, oh, and here's the house of the original Dr. Pepper. And there's just a lot of history there for that. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool. I can't find it. I was trying to find it by the time you were
Oh,
done.
the Coke
but-
guy. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's
Should
right.
I pontificate more about my? Hey, have you been paying attention to the NCAA tournament?
No, but I watched last night's Gonzaga game.
You did. I missed
I
it
did.
completely, and the internet is blowing up about it. And I
Well,
asked
I
my
mean,
dad.
it's the latest. I mean, like I watched literally. We watched a minute a minute, and then it went into overtime, and then we watched the entire overtime because overtime is only 5 minutes.
Right. So you
So-
watched the whole game then?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's funny you said that because Ursula has a theory that most games you watch it the last 2 minutes. Like that's her thing.
I would disagree with that, but
Of course, but
um,
I don't know if I would disagree with her with that with basketball.
it
Like
depends. I mean,
basketball, you can pretty much get away with watching it the last 5 minutes.
but there are a lot of games that are blowouts by that time. Like you can tune in the last 5 minutes and be like, well, okay, I can tell who's going to win this game.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched in a while.
If
Now
it's a, if it's a
with
cool,
a 3-point shot, no lead is safe. And the NBA, there's a saying with the NBA. The saying is everybody goes on a run. So everybody always has a 15-2 run or a
yeah,
26-12 run or something like that. But
but if the score is 58 to 105,
yes. How often do you see that though?
not very often, but I don't watch basketball very often. So from what I understand, it was overtime, inbound the ball, like half court shot, buzzer beater, right?
Yeah. Hit a buzzer
Yeah.
beater. We all sat there and went, like everybody went, wow,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I think everybody's just caught up in the moment because first off, it's been a whole year since you've had these moments like this.
Yeah.
Like that
Were there
used to
people in the
happen.
stands?
No, not really.
Okay.
You used to have, which is funny because the guy jumped up on the scores table and was like going, yeah, and I don't think anybody was there. Which kind of sucks for him. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
probably never going to get that shot again. And no, like that crowd
should have been
that was a
deafening.
live crowd. It would have been deafening. So he kind of lost out on that. But anyway, we were talking about the NCAA tournament. The guy hit the last shot to send Gonzaga into the final against Baylor. I have no idea who's going to win Monday.
Who's in it?
It's Baylor. It's Baylor and Gonzaga.
Oh, it is Baylor.
They're both 1 seeds. So
Well,
yeah. So actually by now it's Thursday. We already know who won it. So
yeah. Recording on Sunday, I don't know, but
So I think we'll leave it there though. I mean that's all we got this week. So guys, thank you for listening. As always, Greg, any last words? Anything you want to say to anybody? You don't have to come up with any cool tagline, but if you just want to say
this is Thursday. It's happy birthday to me. I'm going to go off and do something fun.
there you go. There you go. So again, everybody, thanks for listening. Greg, happy birthday, sir.
Thank you.
For the Greg and the, I'm sorry, for the birthday boy and Johnny. Podcast out, people. Take care.